Thanks, Quentin, and welcome everybody. We're just going to work around and introduce ourselves. So my name's Marlene Griffin. I'm the team leader for the RMO unit here at Dunedin Hospital. We're a small team. Debbie, will introduce herself next. We've got an administrator, and our recruitment team sits separate from the RMO unit. We've already met a number of people, have made contact. Certainly any questions that you don't raise through this forum, we're also available at any time for any questions that you have, or you can please pop in and visit us if you can, for those that are based down here. I'll hand over to Nex for the introductions, and we'll look forward to any questions or clarification or anything about our slide presentation that you might have throughout the session. Thank you.
All right, I'm Debbie. I will be the RMO advisor or your direct line contact at Southern. Pretty much what Marlene said, we're always available for any questions right throughout this process.
Hi, I'm Catherine Forward. I'm the Director of Pre-Vocational Training for Southern DHB. So I look after the education program and just sort of the overall supervision aspects for all the pre-vocational house officers.
We'll go back to Kelsey.
Sorry. I'm Kelsey McNabb. I'm one of the PGY1s working here, and I've been here for almost 5 months now.
Yeah,
goes fast. Yeah.
Kia ora, my name is Charlotte and I am a PGY2 at Dunedin Hospital. I'm currently the plastic surgery house officer, which is an awesome role. I've got an incredibly supportive and inclusive team who enable me to get to clinics, get to theatre, and I get to see patients right from the assessment stage through their treatment, and I get to see them in the aftercare follow-up stage as well. Dunedin Hospital is a teaching hospital. The consultants and the registrars are all really lovely, and I was lucky enough to be a student here in Dunedin, so I was able to spend 4th, 5th and 6th year getting to really know the team, so that when I started as a house officer I already had great relationships with the doctors that I was working with. Dunedin is my tūranga waiwai, it's my home. I was born here in this hospital and it's where my family still resides. So choosing to work in Dunedin meant that I was able to keep my support networks and be well supported while I started my new journey as a house officer. I love that it's got beaches and Central Otago is really close by, so it's pretty easy to get away for a lovely weekend when you've got time off.
Hi, I'm Anna Kate Fowler, a PGY1 house officer working at Dunedin Public Hospital. I'm an older student who came back for a career change and have been in Dunedin for the past 5 years. Dunedin is a great place for family life. It has loads of opportunity for children, schoolings are fantastic, and we had great support networks. PGY1 can be a bit of a daunting year to jump into. Your workload dramatically increases from your undergraduate years, and with a family that can be harder. You do at least 1 long day and sometimes 2 long days per week, but then you'll get some time off, and I think you just need to prioritise that time off to spend with your family and make sure that you're doing things that rejuvenate you so you can manage the workload. If you're wanting to come to Dunedin, my advice would be that get in touch with people. We're a really open and welcoming place to be. We'd be more than happy to chat. I'd also recommend that on your ACE applications that you write a cover letter detailing why you think Dunedin would be the place for you to be for your family, if you're single or if you have children.
Hi there, my name's Michael Dawson and I'm a PGY3 house officer working at Dunedin Public Hospital. I'm working mainly in medical runs, medical specialties like haematology and renal at the moment. I really enjoyed my PGY1 year at Dunedin Hospital. It's such a friendly working environment, being a smaller yet still tertiary hospital. In terms of things like how often we do long days or when we work weekends, we only ever work 1 day in the weekend, which I think is really fair, and it means that you don't ever fatigue by stretching yourself too thin by doing both weekend days. As well as opportunities within the hospital, we are a tertiary centre, although a lot smaller, so there's a bit more intimacy with some of the teams, and you have access to all of the specialties that you could expect with any large main hospital. We've put multiple initiatives in place to try and improve the sustainability of how we function at work, and it's just one of the many opportunities for ways in which RMOs can get involved with things outside of their clinical work. My advice for anybody that's even considering Dunedin Public Hospital is that you rank it really highly, because I think that it's a brilliant place to live and to work.
The first slide, because it is exciting times to be in Dunedin Hospital. As you can see, that's our current Dunedin Hospital. We've got the bulldozer there and a concept picture of our new hospital build, which is underway, but a few years away from completion yet. So it is exciting times ahead, exactly what the words say. It's a good opportunity as newbies coming into the hospital to be part of some of those work streams that are in place already in terms of service development, RMO specific needs, there's some MECA requirements. So it's a great opportunity to be part of the, we're unique in that sense from other hospitals in terms of where we're at. So as I say, exciting times ahead.
Yep. So one of the key things when you're thinking about where you're going to work next year is thinking about the place. So I love Dunedin, and I think everyone else in the room loves Dunedin. And some of you may have spent time here either at university or doing TI years, etc. But Dunedin's a great place to live. It's a nice sized town. It has those things that you need without being too big. You can get from the hospital to pretty much a beach that's surfable in any kind of weather, as long as you don't mind the cold. I can say that as an ex-Aussie. But you're close to tramping. You pretty much, no matter what your interests are, if you're interested in the theatre, music, because we've got the university here, we've got that great mix of stuff going on. So it's a lovely place to live, and it's a great place to be starting out your career, to be, if you in that place in life where you're bringing up families or thinking about doing that. It's a wonderful spot. And if you just want to get out in nature, then there can't really be anywhere better than here.
All right, so our first year runs are blocked, but we have good selection of general medicine, cardiology, general surgery. Now the general surgery is split off into multiple teams such as colorectal, upper GI, plastics, vascular. We have urology, orthopedics, we have 2 psychiatry runs, we have OPH, mental health and rehab. So a good broad mix for your PGY 1 year to explore all options.
So while they're in blocks, they do get the opportunity, or you will get the opportunity to indicate whether you wanted to start in a medicine run or a surgical run. And as much as possible, we try and make that work. Not all the time everyone can get their first choice, but the allocation of the blocks does give that broad experience, just as Debbie said. Next slide, please, Quentin.
Going on from your first year, you've got your second year runs. So we do offer 2 6-month runs in O&G and paediatrics. Now they are quite intense and very specialised. We do ED, which is a 3-month run. We've also got specialised runs in gastro, haematology, oncology, renal and respiratory, along with neurosurgery, ophthalmology, cardiothoracic, ENT and general surgery acutes. We do have a run called Internal Medicine Assessment Unit, or IMAU. That one is sort of a mix between a registrar and a general medicine run, so you get quite a different overview of general medicine. We have got 7 community-based attachment runs, 3 are rural, so we've got Lakes, Dunstan and Oamaru. And we have the usual leave reliever rotator runs, which gives you a good chance to experience the runs that you don't get allocated to as your base runs. Okay, so types of roster, we run several different rosters. The main roster is where you'd spend your first year. They consist of long days, weekends, and obviously in your first 6 months you don't have nights. Although I'm sure Kelsey will give a bit of a rundown on life on the roster, but they're not too onerous. Gives you a good chance to see what it's like after hours as well as during the day.
So the teaching program that we have here, there's at the moment we've got 2 protected weekly sessions, so one on a Tuesday and one on a Thursday. So we've got a great core group of people that I lead who arrange that, including house officers. So we can try and really make that meet the needs of the group. There's also lots of opportunities on the individual departments to go to education sessions. Sometimes Grand Rounds is up and running at the moment because of COVID, it's not. So we're filling in that gap with extra house officer teaching, which hopefully people are finding useful. Kelsey's nodding, so that's good. But we're really working at trying to get that nice broad program to try and cover off the things that you don't catch during your rotations. And the other exciting thing is by the time you start with this, we'll have a simulation program up and running. So that's due to start next month. Which has been a long time coming, and so that's that opportunity to practice those emergency situations in a nice safe environment and learn those skills. So that's something we're quite excited about getting regularly into the program. So this just gives you a little bit of an indication about the training that you can go on to do once you've finished your PGY 1 and 2 years. So it's good to have a think about if you know what you might want to do, so that you can start to build some relationships. And so they're those key areas. There's also things like psychiatry training. So there's a couple of other smaller specialties as well. But we have specialist training in most of those sort of general programs, which is really good.
Yeah, and this year was the first year that you had your job fair.
Yes.
Where there was presentations from each of those specialty groups for people that are considering, particularly for the recruitment round. So it's a couple of years down the track for you guys though.
So, I'm Kelsey, I'm the PGY1 rep. I thought maybe I would just give you guys a little bit of info about my background and then talk a bit about why I chose Dunedin and what I think is great about working here. So I've done all my training in Dunedin, right through med school, and then TI here as well. Thank you. I have done time in other hospitals. I spent like a quarter of my 4th year down in Invercargill, and some of my elective up at Wairau though, so sort of have seen a bit of what the other hospitals are like to work in as well. In terms of why I chose Dunedin, family is one of those reasons, and I think it is quite a big reason for a lot of people that choose to stay in Dunedin, but it's definitely not the only reason, and we have a lot of people that choose to stay here without having any kind of family ties because they like working in this hospital so much and living in Dunedin. One of the good things about the area is our cost of living here. I think it's important to mention in this day and age where the cost of living is really high, essentially you get the same pay per DHB, obviously dependent on what category run you're doing, but that's going to go a lot further in Dunedin as opposed to Wellington or Auckland or a really big city, so a bit more bang for your buck down here in Dunedin. In terms of the hospital, so we're a pretty big hospital for the area that we serve, and we're big enough that we have a lot of the subspecialties, but we're also still small enough that people here are pretty nice because everyone knows everyone, and you can't really get away with not being nice to work with, essentially. So I've worked with some people from Christchurch, and when they come here, they always say like, wow, it's, you know, bit different, like everyone here is really approachable and great to work with, and there's really good support. So that's a really good pro about Dunedin. Obviously we've got the university here, so that means it's great for postgraduate study if you're interested in doing postgraduate papers or postgraduate diplomas. Some of the really popular ones are pediatrics, obs and gynae, and anatomy, and Otago Uni is quite well known for diplomas in those areas. With the uni being here as well, we also obviously have students in the hospital. That can be really rewarding, teaching students here and getting involved with their learning. And one of the pros of that as well is that we obviously have TIs here, and they sometimes, if they're on your team, can make a really fantastic difference to your workload and just generally helping out, and it is quite rewarding teaching them and seeing them learn and grow as well. Our rosters here, I thought I'd talk about them a little bit because I know that does differ quite a bit between hospitals. Our rosters here are generally pretty good. When we work weekends, we only do one weekend day. They're split weekends. You don't work a Saturday and a Sunday back to back. And I know people can get quite focused on like the Schedule 10 Mecca rosters. So here in Dunedin, you'd never be rostered as a PGY1 to 10 days in a row anyway. The maximum that you would ever really get on one of our rosters would be 6 before having a break. And that would be with the weekend for which you would get a rostered day off anyway. We've got some awesome social stuff going on here. So we have an RMO committee. They organise ski trips, tramping trips. They do First Fridays where everyone gets together for a drink on a Friday with some subsidised drinks. And often that's not just PGY1s or 2s. There's often registrars and consultants as well. So it can be really social and welcoming place. And then I just thought quickly the other thing I would mention is about the teaching, because that's something that's good to look for, like where could I be working that's going to offer some great teaching and help me keep learning and upskilling. A lot of work's been done on the teaching program here, and it really shows. We have some fantastic teaching sessions where you do really learn a lot, and it's all very practical stuff that does make things a bit easier when you're on the wards.
Just further to that, I know I'm skipping a couple of slides here, but right at the end, we've got what the DHB values are, and just to lead on further from what Kelsey is saying about the environment being that people are kind, that we're small enough that everybody knows each other. And I think that's really important as an organisation. We try hard to hold our values of kind, open, community and positive. It's a work in progress across the organisation, but we've certainly had some really good gains. And we keep reminding ourselves of what our values are, and certainly we're wanting our new employees, PGY1s and everybody else, to always have that at the forefront of their mind about the DHB values. So from a DHB, we want to know, as Kelsey had said, what are your reasons for coming here, whether it be family, for living, or for whatever other reasons. So we want to know why you want to work for us. We've got 26 positions available. What we're looking for in your application is, again, in your cover letter, why you want to be part of our team. We'd like to hear from you. If you can make contact with Catherine, who's here. Brendan Arnold is another pre-vocational educational supervisor, or Debbie and I at the RMO unit. Whether that's via email, popping in, ringing, any way you like. References, naturally are important. You need to submit 3 references. We prefer a variety of service areas and need to be recent reports. Summary. As each of us have already said, it's a great place to work. We've got that range of specialties that Debbie and all 3 have covered off. The relationship with the university, which is very strong and a great support. Just to go over those dates again, got to be lodged by 12 o'clock, 8th of July. Why you're choosing, why you want to work for us, making contact with us, the cover letter and the references.
What we want is we want to get a snapshot of why people want to work here. So that's what's really important in the cover letter is why you want to work at Dunedin Hospital. So for whatever reason that might be, that's what we want to know, because we want people who want to come here and stay here.
And now just the values which I just spoke about before. I think that's the end of our slides. Is it? Oh, that's the slide that I was wondering if it was still there.
Oh, this
If you haven't been to Dunedin and you want to have a look, if you go through to that website, and you can see all the pretty pictures of why we love it here.
selection criteria, I guess. So what do you look for in an ideal employee house officer? This person has heard about the Tuakana-Taina program recently. I'm wondering if one of our PGY1s could perhaps talk about that, or the DHB representatives.
Okay, so
yeah, you're perfect for that one.
So in terms of the first question, what we're looking for are people who want to be here, people who have good interpersonal skills, want to learn. We want people who will be able to grow as they develop through. And so really have that openness and willingness to learn and to provide that great quality care, which is what we want to do for all our patients. And that's really the key of what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for in the references. And part of that is we do want to try and recruit people who we are more likely going to stay with us and become registrars and become consultants and help, as one of my colleagues says, so that they can retire one day. And that's really what we're looking for as the sort of the primary things. The second parts of the Tuakana-Taina project. So this is a project I started up this year. So Tuakana means older brother or older sibling, and Taina means younger brother or younger sibling. And this is a support program. You probably can't see that far away, but my name badge has a fern on it. So this identifies me as a Tuakana, although some people say I'm too old to be a Tuakana, or maybe too senior. And so the idea is, if you see someone with this name badge, that they're volunteered to be a Tuakana in this program, and so they're happy to be asked questions. And that's one of the things when we do orientation at the beginning of the year, we'll give you a briefing on how that works. Have you had any need, Kelsey, to approach a Tuakana?
I haven't had any particular need because everyone is pretty approachable. I've never felt like I've needed to seek out that particular person specifically, but it's also very reassuring to know that they are there if you need them.
Yeah. And that's kind of the key idea of the program, is that we want everybody to be nice and welcoming, but if you're just feeling a bit nervous about approaching someone, it highlights that the people part of this program are happy.
As a house officer, what is the workload balance between clinical and patient time and time spent on paperwork? Are there many opportunities to attend clinics, theatre, or to be involved in procedures as a house officer? Many things.
I think there is a good balance. I mean, the house officer job is always going to include an element of paperwork at any hospital, regardless of which one you go to. Obviously, we've got to admit people write discharge summaries and all of that, and that is all important patient care that you're providing anyway. I think there is a very good balance here, I don't ever feel like I'm just sat at a computer all day doing paperwork. In terms of procedures, obviously that would depend on the rotation that you're on. If you're on a surgical rotation, there is always the option of asking someone else if they agree to hold your pager if you want to go to theatre. I'm on an orthopaedic rotation at the moment, and that's something that we've certainly done. There's 4 of us on that rotation, and we each take turns, if we've got quite a light workload, at handing off our pager to someone else so that we can go to theatre. Like I said before, if you've got trainee interns as well, that can also make it a bit easier in terms of trying to get to procedures and that kind of thing. As a PGY2, if you're doing rotations like ED and that kind of thing, obviously you're going to get to do a lot of procedural skills. We also have 2 fantastic rotations that you can do as a PGY2, the internal medical assessment unit and the gen surg acutes rotation. So they're essentially rotations medically or surgically where you're doing a lot more of what the registrar would do while you're still a PGY2, like assessing patients. The gen surg acutes, you can go to theatre and assist. So yeah, I think there's some good opportunities here for that. Yeah.
The next question is, and I'll answer the first part of it, is can you use unpublished manuscripts in progress as part of your application? The answer is that we won't score any unpublished manuscripts. I am expecting, I think, the New Zealand Medical Journal to send me a list of some applicants who have a publication that's in progress, and I think that's ready to be published potentially in August, I think. But I'll be only using that list for that. But basically, if you've got anything that's unpublished, we won't score you on the A-score with regards to that, but the employers may like to see it.
Yeah, so I'd include those things in your CV. So that paints that picture of things that you've done. So if you're doing a quality improvement project, or if you've done a poster presentation, or if you've got a manuscript that's in that progress, that's information to pop into your CV that helps to give that bigger picture. As Quentin said, it doesn't get you points on ACE, but when we're looking at your CV, it gives us an idea of, you know, what you've been doing. So it's always good to include those things, even if they are still in progress. I think the key thing is that, yeah, if you're interested in working here, just reach out to one of us. Don't feel the need to go and reach out to every single person. That's a lot of your time. We just come and speak to one of us, or send us an email and make a time to catch up. And yeah, it's really just about us having that ability to just get a bit to know you. And we wish you luck in your applications. That's the main thing, whether it's here or somewhere else.
We actually just got a question coming through, and I was actually going to ask it. So thanks to Anonymous. What's the cafe food like?
Well, so we have really good coffee at dispensary, which makes a huge difference when you're on a long day. I did my elective at a hospital where the coffee was undrinkable and it wasn't anywhere near town, so you couldn't get any good coffee. So that's really important. And the cafe food, obviously your lunch, and then if you're on a long day, your dinner as well, is provided in our cafeteria. And I think the food is generally pretty good. There's a good selection of hot food and sandwiches. We have sushi and fruit and snacks, and I think it's generally pretty good compared to what I've seen in other places. Yeah.
And one of the beauties about the hospital here is it's right in the centre of town.
Yes.
So if you do want to nick out and get something different, you can. And depending on what rotations, some consultants are known to take the team out for coffee at the cafes sort of surrounding the hospital. So there are lots of good options nearby if you do decide that the cafeteria food is not for you.
So what's the night roster like for house officers in Dunedin? And are there any practice nights? I'm not too sure what that means, but
so the night shifts are either a 3, which is a Friday, Saturday, Sunday night, and then you've got your down days back on the roster on Thursday, or you do a Monday to Thursday night shift, and then you're back on the roster again on the Monday following. So they're not too not too strenuous as far as the days go. When you start your rostered set of nights, we tend to buddy you up with more of a senior. So you'd be with a senior house officer who's doing the surgical, and as a PGY1, you would be doing your first set of nights in medicine. So you've got that contact there. Both sides, both surgery and medicine, there's always a registrar on site that you can reach out to if you need to, and the consultants are always available as well if needed. So there is definitely good support in place for those that are on night shift. We don't do a practice run, I guess, for nights. But if it comes time to your nights and you're extremely anxious, then it is definitely something that we can look at and work through that process with you. We're very much here to help and support.
There's been a teaching program, teaching session in the past prior to nights.
So we generally get those certificates, and one of the good things, because you don't do nights until the second half of the year, you will have done a number of long days and weekends, so it's not quite the same overnight, but hopefully by the time you start nights, you are more comfortable dealing with how the system works when there's less people around.
I guess just actually just one question from me is that there may be applicants, and there's certainly a couple of Australians that we're aware of that are looking to apply in Dunedin. So in terms of finding accommodation and finding comfortable accommodation, what's that in Dunedin?
I'm probably the most recent immigrant, so it's pretty okay. There's usually other junior doctors who are looking to house share with flatmates if you want to. It can be a bit interesting because my personal opinion is you want to try and stay away from the university area. Some people might like some gravitate to it. So, but you can pretty much be within a 10-minute drive and you're getting most of the major suburbs. And it's one of those things, if you did get a job here and you're coming from somewhere else, there often are, through some of the Facebook groups that I'm sure you're part of, if you pop on there, there'll quite often be people looking for housemates as it moves around. But yeah, it's fairly easy. It's not as bad as some of the bigger cities where it's impossible to get rentals.
So apart from that, thank you very much. Really enjoyed it. Enjoy your evening and take care until next time.
Thank you, Quentin.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
No worries. Haere rā.